There I am. Hello. What's up, everyone? Welcome. It's Sunday. Um, Not normally used to doing shows on Sundays, but I do have a guest. So that's why I'm coming live on a Sunday of all days. I'm just waiting for everyone to join here. Say hello if you're in the chat room. I know it takes a minute for me to see your comments, but I'm here live on a Sunday. There's my aunt. You're the first one, Val. The very first one. Ugh. Wow, you're it? My God. See, maybe Sundays weren't a good idea. I don't know. Maybe I won't get a whole lot of people watching, but all right. Well, anyways. So, yeah. Happy Sunday. Hopefully everyone's weekend has been going well. Wow, I'm just surprised. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to share it. That's what I forgot to do. Good old Facebook. I can spell. All right. Shepherd show. Oh, there I am. Let's share this here. I have no idea. I don't. Oh, you know what I need to do? Don't mind me. I'm just trying to switch my profile here. No, I don't want to do that. There I am. This whole new Facebook thing is so dumb. I hate it. I really do. There's my grandmother. Hello, welcome. Wow, it's just the two of you right now. Oh, 3 people. 3. I got 3. 3 people so far. I know, it's a Sunday. Normally, I'm not doing shows on Sundays. It wasn't supposed to start until May, but somehow my guest tonight snuck through the cracks and was able to book an appointment, or interview, I should say, for tonight. So she should be coming on fairly soon, I hope. I have not heard anything from her, so hopefully she remembers that she has a show. But she's in Canada, so I'm hoping that there's no time difference. I don't want to have to go through that again. So, but anyways, back to Sharon here. Where am I going? Oh, here's my shortcuts. Oh, there I am. Okay. Share. There we go. I shared it. Whoop, whoop. All right. Who else is here? I see 4 people are here. So, oh, my Aunt Steph is here. Well, hello. Welcome. Now I'm back down to 3 people. It's just you 3. So I have a feeling that this is going to be a slow show for show. Oh, boy. Sundays are different for me. Steph, were you able to go out with your friends for coffee or tea or whatever? I thought that's what you were doing. I just saw the 3 of these today. Oh, and I did eat at Friendly's. It was pretty good. It was quiet. Not a lot of people in there. I was very surprised. But, was it good? I ate way too much. Too much food. So, Nikki Jones, my cousin Nikki, late as usual, but it's all right, right? Let me guess. We're working. And we're watching from work, I hope. Kayla, my sister Kayla, hello, welcome. Friendly's, yummy. Yes, Friendly's was good. Friendly's, yummy. Yep, it was good. I hadn't ate there in a very long time. It's been a long time since I've ate at Friendly's, so it was a special treat for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I didn't feel like going any further. I wanted Olive Garden. I would have had Olive Garden, but he had it yesterday without me. So I would have had to have gone to West Farms Mall, and I didn't want to drive all that far. So we went as far as Avon, went to Best Buy. Where else did I go? Best Buy. I went to Torrington Staples. Friendly's, and then I went back home. That's all I did. So, yeah. Nikki has today off. Is that what's happening? Haven't been there in over a year and a half. Yeah, it's been a while. For sure. Absolutely. Nikki Jones, I went to Best Buy for the first time in a very long time yesterday. Yeah. I've been shopping this whole time. I've been everywhere. So, I mean, I don't go to a lot of places, but I have my regular stores that I go to, which is TJ Maxx, Marshall's, North Adams, Walmart. Where else am I going? And then I'll go down south and go to a couple of places down there, but that's it. So I don't go to as many stores as I used to, right? So, yep. She's off, thank God. Yes. Absolutely. Kayla, my sister Kayla is supposed to be coming back. You still coming back up this way? My sister moved to Oklahoma. And I heard that she's coming back up this way for a visit. I don't know if that's true or not. You like Macy's? That's true. I do like Macy's. I was in Macy's just the other day. So, actually Sunday. I was there last Sunday. So, absolutely. My sister's leaving in 2 days. Whoop, whoop. 13-hour drive. Hopefully you just drive straight through. So you and Cheryl. What's up, Cheryl? What's up, girl? Yeah. So anyways, let me talk about the guest that's going to be coming on. And this was a quick booking, by the way. So I am going to be honest. Oh, 30 hours. Oh, 13. Where the hell did I get 13 from? I don't know where I got 13 from. All right, 30 miles, whatever. I'm going to be honest. I have not read any of these books from these authors. There's just not enough time from when they're booking and then coming onto the show. So it's just nearly impossible. So I am learning about these books the same time as you. Yeah, so that's how that's going to go. So Kristi is coming onto the show. I'm probably going to ruin her last name because I don't know how to pronounce it. So hopefully when she comes on soon, in about 5 minutes or so, she can tell me how to pronounce her last name. So it is Kristi. It's either Charish or Charish. Charish is her last name. So she is a Canadian urban fantasy author. And she's a recovering lab geneticist as well. So I'm interested to know what that is. So yeah. South Carolina, yes, 13 hours down there or whatever, or something. Yeah, okay, that's what it was. But yeah, 30 hours from Oklahoma. Sorry, my goodness. I made a mistake. So anyways, that's who we're going to be talking about. And she looks young too, which is cool. But she booked it for today. Today is the 25th. I haven't received any communication. I sent her the link to the show. So hopefully she will pipe in here any minute now. I also have a guest on Thursday. I have a guest after that. Pretty much April is booked up. May is, for the most part, probably booked up by now. So I have a guest every show. So you're going to be meeting somebody new. So far, for some reason, I was supposed to have 2 guests per show, but for some reason it's only booking one time, which is at 7:45 to 8:15. So that's why I've been starting at 7:30. If I had known that it was going to do that, I would have kept it at 8. Gives me more time to prepare for the show. So, but yeah, so exciting, right, Kayla? Exciting. Absolutely. So, but you can find her books on Amazon, and I did post, I think, a link, or I'll do it after the show. The link to where you can find all of her books, and she's writing a series. I know that, so it's more than 3 books, I think, or something like that. So that's what she's coming on to talk about. It's her Kincaid series, so that's what she's going to be coming on to talk about. It sounds interesting. We'll see. She's still not here, and I'm concerned. So I have a feeling that if she doesn't pop on within a couple of minutes or whatnot, I'm going to email her. If she does not show up at all, the show will only go for another 15 minutes. I'll go till 8 o'clock. I'm not going to go a full hour. I have a feeling that there's a time difference or something, maybe. Maybe I'm overreacting. I don't know. But usually they're already here. So her books look like they're good. So I would hope that people are going to Amazon or wherever and getting these books and reading them. Yeah. So we kind of just wait and see what's going to happen here within the next couple of minutes. So there she is. Okay. Oh, all right. I'm just going to bring her on. I'm not even going to wait because I'm excited to talk to her. So let me get rid of your thing there. I was getting concerned because you are in Canada, right?
I am, yes.
Okay. And for some reason, I was thinking, oh, no, she's not here. Normally, people are early. They watch a little bit. I'm like, maybe there's a time difference. I don't know. But no. Yay, you're here.
Oh, thank you for having me. No, well, you said 4:45, and I knew it was PST. I actually watched your show that you did with Jeffrey A. Carver.
Okay.
Which I thought was great. So I was excited to come on and talk to you. But yeah.
That was a long show.
What?
It was a very long show, and I'm glad I gave him as much time as possible. And I just let him keep talking. Sometimes it happens. So I'm like, there's no one after him, so I might as well just let him go. But yeah, it was a good interview. And to be interviewing, that was, I think, the first time that I interviewed somebody from the same state as me.
Oh,
so,
cool.
Yeah. And I've been doing it for 6 years. So.
Now, what state are you in? I'm just out of curiosity.
I am in Massachusetts.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. I think I'm on the other side of the country because I'm over in Vancouver in British Columbia.
Okay.
Up in Canada. We have provinces. You guys have states.
Right. Yes. Yep. I've only been up there. Oh, God, it was a long time since I've been to Canada. I should go again. It's nice up there. So. But yeah, well, welcome. Thank you for coming on. I'm interested because I was telling them before you came on, between the time of booking the interview and the guest actually coming on, some of them are short. So I have not read any of the books. So I will be, yeah. So I will be learning about, and future guests, about the book the same time as them. So they sound pretty cool. I've already been on Amazon to scope them out because I'm a Kindle fanatic. So that's where I usually get all of my books. So tell us about the series, what it's all about.
Well, I started, so I've actually got 2 series out.
Okay.
My first one was a little less in the sci-fi, more in the fantasy vein. That was my Owl in the Japanese Circus series, and it's I guess best described, sort of shortly, succinctly as a sort of an Indiana Jane archaeology grad student turned antiquities thief who tries to stay away from monsters. So a little bit of an Indiana Jones kind of vibe. And the second series that I got is the Kincaid Strange series, which is murder mystery, but urban fantasies. So it's there's a fantastical element to it, but there's also a lot of science because with urban fantasy, you have to meld the fantastical with the you got to meld the fantastical with the real world. So usually, I at least like to use, and I think some of the best urban fantasy out there, they use a lot of science in there to sort of smooth things over. So Kincaid Strange is about a voodoo practitioner who lives in Seattle with the ghost of a grunge rocker.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And that one had 3 books out. So the Voodoo Killings, Lipstick Voodoo, and the most recent one was Voodoo Shanghai.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, they are trying. Kincaid and her friends are trying to figure out who is causing mischief and who's killing either the already dead or the folks who are in the know and involved in the paranormal communities before she either ends up a victim or the police come after her. So yeah, so that's kind of that series in a nutshell.
I think I'm going to have to read them now. Yeah, especially the first series. That sounds very interesting. So
I spent a lot of time in grad school, so I went the science route.
okay.
I started off actually as in my undergraduate degree, so my bachelor's. I actually started off in archaeology, anthropology on a scholarship, and I very quickly veered into the sciences. And part of that for me was I was in a class with a very, very famous primatologist, Brute Galdicus. So when you hear about Diane Fawzy and Jane Goodall, Brute Galdicus was the other one who worked on orangutans. And we were lucky enough to have her as one of our instructors at Simon Fraser University way back in the 90s. And she was a brilliant instructor, but we didn't really get anthropology. We ended up with this incredibly cool primatology human evolution class. And very quickly, I realized that I was more interested in the biological stuff, evolution and ecology and things like that. Moved into that field, and then by the time I was ready for grad school, I was already in genetics and cell biology and never looked back. So when I wrote my first novel, which was Owl in the Japanese Circus, my Indiana Jones, my sort of love of Indiana Jones and sort of my early ventures into archaeology really came. That was the real inspiration for that, but also just the slug of grad school and a lot of the politics that are around it. And so there's I started off with the with the archaeology Indiana Jones adventure, but I ended up melding a bit of science into that one too, because that's my background. So usually the science ends up in my novels, and I think most writers probably will tell you that whatever their background is, it finds its way into their work somehow.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Okay. It's just interesting how you go from. Is it because you were able to write it because it's not what you chose? You went a different path. So was it easier for you to write, this story, or?
Yeah, when I originally wanted to go into archaeology, anthropology, there was definitely the Indiana Jones inspiration in the back of my head, where it's the adventure and
Mm,
the adventure of discovery. And very quickly, whenever you take any entry level university entry level archaeology class, almost on the first day, this is not Indiana Jones, is the first thing the instructor will tell everybody. And with good reason. And
mhm.
so part of it I think was part of it was kind of that. I think everybody who has a bit of an interest in archaeology, or an awful lot of us, sort of started off in that kind of we're inspired by those kinds of adventure movies, especially that sort of 80s.
Mhm.
I guess all those movies were 80s inspired. So there was definitely my interest in it. But yeah, that I think it's easier if you think of what, at least for myself, what I tend to write about. There's a sphere of things that I have a background in or interest in. And I tend to choose things that are similar, or I can apply my background to realistically,
Mm.
and monsters and, sort of the monsters and the archaeology stuff in Owl, and then the zombies and the ghosts and how does all that work in Kincaid. I certainly get to use my science background, and at some point I'm probably going to try and do some kind of a thriller, or some kind of like a bio, like a bio thriller, or something that's maybe a little more of a thriller, Michael Crichton style sci-fi. But I don't think I could write a book about people who worked in a laboratory doing primary research or genetics, because I know too much about it. I'm not sure I could make that interesting to my readers, because for me, I know so much about it. I'm not entirely sure, or I'm not as certain, or as confident that I could write it in a way with the kinds of discovery that a reader would be looking for. Whereas with something like archaeology or murder
Mhm.
mysteries with zombies, well, I know all the things that I don't know about it. So it's fun and it's an interesting discovery. And I have a pretty good idea what I need to put in there to make it interesting without going too far on the details. That's what I hoped. That's what my goal is when I'm writing.
Okay.
Make
Makes
it
sense.
interesting, make it interesting, but don't bog it down with too much detail.
And you think by writing what you know, it would be too much?
I think, well, there's a difference. There's writing what I know. So if I'm, for example, if I'm putting together a zombie or a monster for a book, I'm going to use all my genetics and all my, biology, cell biology, you name
Right.
it. I'm going to use it in that novel because I've got it in my toolbox. But the things about a genetics lab, say working on cells and such, that I would find interesting, where I already know so much about it because I did that for so long,
Right.
that my ability to I think that's probably one of the things I would struggle with, is trying to figure out how to make it interesting for my readers. Where am I putting in too much detail and where am I not putting in enough? Because when you really know something well, Same with the legal. Somebody who's got a legal expertise. I would imagine it's sometimes easier to write about a medical, like a medical mystery, or it's easier to write about, business gone wrong with the legal, where in both cases, the legal stuff can really play into it. And,
Right.
sort of the procedures of legals of law and how it applies. But if you are an expert in your field, if you're a medical doctor, or you are a lawyer, or you're in my case, a geneticist, how do you how do you go back in time and remember the things that you didn't know about your particular profession in a way that you can communicate it to a reader? Without confusing them, without writing it for a very small field of experts like you. It's like, how do you forget the things that most people, wouldn't, that most people don't know about
Right.
that particular field? So does that kind of make sense?
Oh, it
Kind of went
does.
off
Oh,
on
yeah.
a tangent there, but
Yeah. No. It makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. So, yeah, absolutely. So, what started you writing novels to begin with?
I so I got to a point in my career. So I did my bachelor's in. So I ended up doing finishing my bachelor's in science. I did a master's in science,
Hmm.
and I did my PhD. So up in Canada, we tend to do master's and PhD. We tend to do all three degrees, whereas I think in the US and a lot of other places, you do your bachelor's and then a PhD or a master's. But either
Mm.
way, I was sort of at the getting ready to defend. So writing up my thesis, writing up my final project, and getting ready to basically move on with my career. And I realized that the next step wasn't doing the experiments and putting together these, uh, doing these experiments and asking questions and being in a lab and looking at things every day. I was, sort of the next career step is being a professor, or working towards being a professor, where you're writing grants in a lab, and you're directing a lot of research, but you don't actually get to do a lot of it anymore.
Mm.
And I realized that wasn't quite the direction I wanted to go. So I did a kind of thought experiment. My thought experiment was, well, if I could do anything in the world and get paid for it, no real limits, just game of imagination, what would it be? And I always loved reading. I always loved, especially sci-fi fantasy. That used to be I'd be working on the microscope in the lab, and I'd have, I'd have a sci-fi, or I'd have a fantasy book out in front of me. And I'd be reading on the bus. That was sort of my other love and passion. And I said, well, I've never really tried, I've never really tried writing. I've
Mm.
always wanted to, but I've never really explored that idea. For kicks, why not give it a shot? Why not, for the next year that I'm writing up my thesis and getting ready to defend, why don't I try writing? Why don't I sit down and really give it a shot and see if I enjoy doing it? I did that for a couple of months, and then I enrolled in some community college classes, just evening ones, and community center stuff. So I do have, whenever writers ask me a piece of advice, I always, try and emphasize that you don't need to spend a lot of money at all to learn how to write. You can do it for free. And there's so many great community colleges and free workshops out there. So I'm very diligent about saying that. But by the time a year goes by, I've now got my PhD done, my thesis done. I'm ready to defend. And I've got my first novel, which was Owl in the Japanese Circus. And I would sort of do the thing where I give myself, an hour to write my thesis, an hour, 2 hours to work on my novel. And so I defended my thesis. Then I got my PhD, and at the same time, was shopping around my novel to agents. So I actually, the way I got my agents is I didn't, being in grad school at the time, I did not have money to go to one of these very fancy conventions where you go to pitch to agents. So, and I said, I don't have that. That's not in the budget. So what can I do? And so I looked at, I started researching the agents that were looking for clients and would be going to these conventions, would be doing the circuit of writing pitch conventions. And so about 6 months before the conventions were supposed to even happen, I was sending my query letter to them and saying, hey, I noticed that you were going to be looking for, I noticed you might be attending this, this convention coming up. You're looking for new writers, and then my pitch. So very quickly, I was lucky enough to sign on with an agent, and she had my first series sold in a couple of months to Simon & Schuster. So that was back in 2014. Yeah, so it's so I ended up a lot of things really aligned for me in that in that time period, and I've never looked back. I adore writing, so it's definitely my happy place.
That's good. I hear that a lot from authors that, they really do enjoy. I'm glad they enjoy it. First of all, I mean, I can't see someone hating to write, but yet is making, book after book. But yeah, I just don't have the patience for it. I really don't. I've tried. Oh, trust me, I've tried. That and co-authoring with someone, but that's been taking like 4 years. So with COVID and everything else, and with COVID, I mean, I don't know what the affection rate was up there. I never really paid attention to Canada all that much. I was worried about where I was. Did it have a big impact up there? I'm assuming it did.
It did, absolutely. Like we've so Toronto is Toronto and Ontario have had there were some of our largest populations are Quebec and Ontario.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of our population is, and so again, denser populations, they've had more trouble with the infection rate. But definitely across Canada, all the city centers are having problems, and right now we're actually seeing spikes in that third wave. Quite, like everywhere else in the world right now. And so, I think, I always have the news on in the background, like everybody else now. It's impossible to turn the news off. And I found that for like the past year and a bit, it's just there.
Yeah.
But I think Ontario's now in pretty well a lockdown again, to try and get the cases down. And we're sort of crossing our fingers in BC. They put in some travel restrictions so that people aren't moving from region to region until more people are vaccinated. So I get mine next week, which is great. But yeah, like, I mean, it's affected. This is, I would say that you are in the last month or so, you're probably one of the first podcasters I've chatted to where we've really, we brought up the COVID crisis, and I think it's affected every writer to some degree. Like there are some writers I think who are able to harness it and really use it to their advantage and are just like, okay, I can't go anywhere. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to write. I think I kind of feel like the majority of us, it's almost like we've picked up like a bit of ADH, sort of a temporary, the entire writing field has picked up a bit of, just our attention is completely dispersed because you've got the news, you've got, so like last year, for example, I wrote 4 novels, and I usually write two, maybe 3 if I'm really lucky. But having said that, I've got the manuscripts, but I didn't finish any of them to the point of editing. I didn't get to the point where I could sit down and really focus to edit one. So I'm trying to do that this year. That's sort of my goal, is to take everything I wrote and actually focus and sit down and make myself go through it. But, last year it was just, I go from one idea to another idea to the next idea. And I thought it was maybe just me, but the more writers I talk to, the more I'm finding that other people did that too. So it's one of those things. I guess it's, for me, it's just a plug on and try to carry on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I asked Jeffrey on the last show, and because some authors will tell me, because first I would always ask, well, because I think at the beginning of the lockdown last year, I was asking guests, have you picked up any bad habits now that we're not able to really go anywhere as we're locked? Are you binge watching something that you normally wouldn't have watched? Are you reading something that, you never would have picked up? But now it's gotten to the point where, they're more worried about what's going on because we're watching the news more. I've never really cared to watch the news because it was always negative stuff, so I never really bothered. But now I catch myself, either on my phone or watching. But some writers are saying that I'm stressed. I'm like, I can't really focus on anything. So sometimes it's there and I'll get it, whatever, how much done, but I can't sit there like I normally would. And then I get writers that, I have all the time now. I'm just going to write. So, it does affect different people. So, in many ways. So, but we keep trudging along.
Yeah, every writer's different, and that's the funny thing about the profession too, is that everybody's got a slightly different way of approaching things, a slightly different process, a slightly different, way that they work. So it's there's definitely some similarities. I do, I think that there are some patterns out there, but there's also this personal aspect to it as well, where it depends on where you are and how you work. So but I think coming into summer, we're definitely a lot more optimistic up here, which is nice. Getting that the rain is starting to to give way to sunshine again. So
I hope so. I really do. So I hope things change fairly soon. So
it's the other thing I was thinking about when I was listening to Jeffrey's interview is that because he was talking about having done traditional, and he'd been talking about self-publishing as well, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And and it's absolutely characteristic of the entire field right now. Like we've also got COVID going on right now, but the entire field of writing is becoming a bit of a Wild West. Like there's a lot of upheaval happening. So I think all of that probably feeds in to some point. And it's like, I mean, the rules that I learned about the writing industry when I started when I was first published in 2015 have all changed, and that's 6 years ago. That's only 6 years. So it's there's a lot of change. A lot of it's really cool, but definitely a lot of change. So
I've noticed. Oh yeah. Let's see. Oh, we have a question for you. How many books does she plan to have in the Kincaid series?
So that's a great question. The series right now with Random House stands with 3 books. And that has to do with the business side. This is something that happens with a lot of series, is that they plan on how many books they think they're going to sell, and the money folks in marketing and sales come up with an ideal figure. But that doesn't mean in again, 5-10 years ago, the publisher would dictate how many books there would be in the series. That doesn't happen necessarily anymore because sales change, and you can. So there's always the option that I might do a fourth or fifth book. I'm not working on that right now. I'm working on a spy spoof, but it's the answer I used to give to series is I would keep writing the books in the series as long as the publisher wanted me to continue the characters. So, right now I'm not working on a Kincaid book, but there might be more in the future, for sure.
Okay, good answer. Very good answer. How many books total has she written?
I've written, so finished and published, there have been 7. 4 with Simon and Schuster, 3 with Random House, and I have a 8th book, which was a sci-fi one, which we were shopping around, but bad timing. It was a pandemic sci-fi.
Okay.
That I wrote because of my biology background. A lot of us in the science and cell biology world were predicting predicting pandemics and talking about pandemics. That was part of our coursework. Talking about patterns and historical things. So I ended up writing a pandemic sci-fi, Western style sci-fi. And it's not the right time to shop that around right now. So that one's sitting on the back burner. And then I've got 4 manuscripts in process I need to finish. So 7 published, another one finished, so 8 finished. And then I'm crossing my fingers I get the next 4 done this year.
Okay. Let's see. Chris, can you see the comments, by the way?
Yes.
You can't. You should be able to. If you're like on a computer or sometimes a tablet or whatnot,
I'm
it'll
on
say
a tablet. Does it say chat?
It should say chat.
I can touch on
There's
the chat
private, because there's private, and then there's...
Okay, so now I can't see you, but I can see the I can definitely see see people commenting.
There you
Hello,
go.
everyone.
Yeah.
And I can't see you anymore, or I can see you kind of faded in the background, but I can definitely see the comments. So yes, that did work.
Okay. It's why I use this program. It's the easiest for guests to get on now. The way I used to do it before was completely different. So I'm new to this whole video thing myself. I've been doing podcasting for 6 years. The first 4 was with a co-host of mine, but we did it radio style. So people called in using a telephone to do the interview. So I really never had to see anyone. But she said, "Oh man, you'd be great on camera." But anyways, the reason for this program is so that guests can actually see the comments as they're coming in. So if I miss something, or they can see them as well. So Chris wanted to know: have you ever been interested in trying your hand at any other genre or genres?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great for every author to try as many genres as possible. I'm really into spy spoofs right now. So sort of the Bond-esque. James Bond is kind of its own genre at this point. So I'm very interested in sort of the Austin Powers style spoofs. They're fun, they're entertaining. I'm also interested in sci-fi thrillers. So I think I love Michael Crichton's stuff. He did some wonderful sci-fi. Anybody out there who's looking for some good, if you're looking for some good virus-themed stuff that's not pandemic, Andromeda Strain, if you haven't read it yet, is wonderful and incredibly accurate. Michael Crichton had a medical school background, so you see that in his in all of his writing and all of the research he does. So yeah, trying to think what else. Mysteries for sure. I've just got the comments off so I can see you now. But
Sure.
mysteries and it's there's so much overlap. So mystery gets used in everything. You can have a mystery in a thriller. You can have a mystery in fantasy. You can have
Yeah.
mystery in an urban fantasy. Um, and you know, I think there's also the horror aspect. I would say that most urban fantasy or a lot of us at least, and a lot of sci-fi authors will borrow from horror occasionally, elements of horror in their novels. So I think a lot of the genres end up being, or the what I learned in when I was doing, sort of the early writing classes and workshopping. A lot of writers think that a lot of the genre names. So when you think about mystery, romance, fantasy, urban fantasy, sci-fi, all of that, they're marketing terms that were used to tell people what kind of a book they were maybe going to be picking up in a bookstore. And they're useful guidelines, but you can have some wonderful mashups now that veer outside those lines. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I've noticed. Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. I forgot that I can actually bring up people's comments so that you can see them on the screen there. Maybe that's better. I don't know. How many
Oh
years of
yeah.
school did you have to complete for your master's degree?
Yeah, I see a couple of them there from Kayla. Yeah, so my degree, my undergrad took me way longer than it should have, and I ended up being in undergrad for 6 years because I started off in the arts. I had no science background at all. Or I had my high school science background, but I avoided the grade 12 sciences because I didn't want to have to take our provincial exams. And I was better at the time in high school. I was much better at the writing and the art style courses. Um, so when I realized that, wait a minute, I'm good at this genetics stuff and I really love it, um, and I want to do this for the rest of my university career.
Yeah.
I realized that I had to go back and do all the mathematics that I had been avoiding and the chemistry. My low point was a class called thermodynamic chemistry. Um, I'm still not entirely sure how I got through that course, but I managed. So it took me a couple of extra years actually to do my bachelor's. My master's was another couple years, and then my PhD was about 6. So science PhDs are a little different. Everywhere you go, they're a little different. In depending on your field and depending on what country you're in. So in Canada, the expectation is that you've got to do your own research. You've got to have your own research paper that's been published, at least one, in order to do your defend your project and get your PhD. And sometimes you're really lucky and you can get that done in 4 years. I know very few people who have done that. Most people it takes up, close to about 6 years. So,
Mm.
yeah, so it was a long haul. The other thing, though, to keep in mind with the sciences, a little different from the arts, is you're actually doing work experience while you're doing your degree. So almost from partway through my bachelor's degree, because I started doing research in labs at the genetics labs at the university, you're actually doing a job. So you're going to school, but you're also essentially a laboratory technician at the university, and then
Okay.
later you're a researcher. So it's kind of a job. It's kind of like a work and school program at the same time, which is different than a lot of other fields where you're just paying tuition for the whole way through.
Right.
And of course we're expected to teach as well, which was a lot of fun.
I bet. I bet.
Yeah.
Let's see. Kayla again. At what age did you realize you wanted to base your career in science or in sciences?
Not till I was in my 20s. It wasn't until my first 1920 it would have been. So it wasn't until I was
maybe the arts is not the best spot for me, and maybe I should be trying these sciences. So yeah, so I was lucky in that it was early on in my university career, but it wasn't until I actually got to university and was taking university level classes that I was like, wait a minute, this is something.
This is not the kind of science I covered in high school at all. This is a whole different level, and realized I was really interested in it, and I think a lot of university students go through that now. I think it's a good thing. That way you don't, this idea of getting constricted in a job or a field that you hate, because you feel like you've put in the years for it and you don't want to have to go backwards. It's like, oh my gosh, I've spent 5 or 10 years in this. I don't want to do it anymore, but I have to because I spent 5 or 10 years in it. And, I think university sort of is a great place to start learning that, you don't, or what was a good experience for me, at least, was realizing that I didn't have to be so strict. It was okay if I decided I wanted to do something else.
Okay. And speaking of Kincaid series, who is your favorite character in the Kincaid series?
Who's my favorite character? Oh my goodness. Oh man. So I love writing. I write from first person. I write first person narrative. So I'm writing as if I'm the character. One of the things that ends up happening is even though it's different characters, even though the stories, told from Kincaid's perspective, I'm writing as if she's the one speaking. I still, as I'm writing the other characters, they're all coming out of my own head. So they're as she sees them and as she interprets her interactions with them. But they're all kind of little pieces of my own brain. I adore writing Kincaid because probably, a lot of my own voice or my interpretation of that voice is going in there. But I absolutely adore Li Ling, who's sort of the zombie with the mostest, who runs the underground city in Seattle, and is a zombie from the turn of the century, sort of wharf docks of Seattle, a courtesan who basically is taking charge. And I really do love writing Nathan Cade, who is the grunge superstar, the ghost of the grunge superstar who lives with Kincaid. Because of course I grew up during the 90s. And so I was a teenager during the entire grunge music movement. And there was, there's this fun, carefree, very 90s youth feel that I just love injecting into Nate. And so he's a lot of fun. What he does and just his sort of youthful responsibility is a lot of fun for me to write. But yeah, it's hard to pick a favorite. I think every author has a hard time picking a favorite character.
Oh, probably. And you don't find it difficult to write like that, to have all those people in your head and then to write as if it's them?
I wouldn't say I find it. I think my background is really great for compartmentalizing. So because I did research, because I was running different experiments at the same time, in a research lab, it's kind of like being a doctor in a medical, in a hospital or a medical facility. You're never doing one thing. You never have just one patient. You don't follow just one patient through until their problem's fixed and then start the next one. You're always doing multiple things. And because and a research lab is no different. You at any time you have 5 to 10 different experiments going on at once, and you're never entirely sure which one is going to pan out for you. So then, of course, you're thinking the next few steps ahead of what's your plan going to be for the ones that do work out, and if the ones that don't work out, what's going to happen there. And for me, that's translated really well to writing, because I tend to approach my writing the same way. I keep everything I've got a lot of balls up in the air. But I, just because of my training, I like doing that. It's a happy place for me, running 5 or 6 different things in the book at once.
Right.
And then thinking ahead to what's going to happen after I get through the next few chapters.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. All right. Let's see here. If you could recommend one book out of all of them, which would you recommend?
Out of mine, or just a favorite book in general?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe out of yours, I'm going to assume.
I think it depends. For fun, for adventurous fun, people who liked The Mummy, one of my favorite movies, the one with Brendan Fraser from the early 2000s, I recommend Out. That's more along that line. But for people who like a little bit darker, grittier murder mystery, then with a bit of fantasy and the occasional lighthearted thrown in, then I would recommend Kincaid. So it really depends what mood you're in.
Okay. Let's see. Chris says most of my fan fiction is written in my opposite gender persona. How do you feel about portraying that perspective?
I think a lot of authors do it very well. I don't think that if your character if you've got a picture of your character and who your character is, then write the character as true as you can. I've seen some authors do some brilliant fiction from the perspective of an opposite or another gender. The one series I can highly recommend by a different author is the Avonlea series, which is about, the first one, I'm just gonna double check it here. So The Water Rat of Wan Chai is the first book in the Avonlea series by Ian Hamilton. And it's he's another Canadian author, and it's about a forensic accountant named Avonlea who investigates money that goes missing through nefarious means, mostly in Southeast Asia. And he writes not only a very brilliant female character, she's also a lesbian character. So he's writing, there's some incredibly wonderful, there's some wonderful fiction out there. You don't need to be restricted. I think sensitivity is the biggest thing. Some of the best writers out there are incredibly sensitive when they are approaching characters that are maybe different from their own life experience.
Right. Yeah. Good question, Chris. Let's see, Valerie.
It's a great question. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. How much research do you do for your books?
Usually my research comes in as I'm writing. So I try to avoid doing what are called sort of information dumps. And the research for me is serving it for myself when I'm writing. The research is serving the story. So the research is, it's helping, it's information I need to catalyze the story ahead. And I think that the, that kind of, if I get to a point where I'm like, wow, I really need to know about what, the late 1800s in downtown Seattle were like, then I dive into it until I've got a good idea of the area. Who were some of the criminals? What did they do? Turn of the century Seattle is fascinating for anybody interested in sort of North American history. A damnable bunch of creative people were peopling the Oregon and the Seattle coast at the time, and there is some just wonderful stories about horror in a lot of cases, horrible things that were going on. But just incredibly creative. Like the one about so the university in sort of late 1800s in Seattle. The university was doing medical research, and so they needed bodies. And you could sell bodies to the university as a way to make money for about $10, which was a lot of money back then. So the kind of people who tended to, who were in Seattle at that time and, who that kind of a business enterprise would appeal to, had some, there were some rules that had to come into place pretty quickly. And the first one was, no gunshot wounds to the body, no, you couldn't kill somebody and deliver them to the university and collect the $10 because that was a problem.
Yeah.
That was a big problem. But they didn't say anything about drowning them. So very quickly, what would happen is you go to you'd say you were a logger who just came in or a sailor who came in, and you go to one of the local bars. You don't have any friends or family in the city, but you've got that beer in front of you or that drink, and you start to feel a bit groggy. And you really feel groggy. And then you are passed out. The next time you wake up, you might be tied to the leg of a pier with the tide rapidly coming in because the university didn't say anything about drowning.
Oh my God. Wow.
It's horrible. It's horrible. But that kind of research, it's true to the area at the time. It gives you a good insight of the people who would have lived there as somebody researching or trying to write about at that time. And I can't, sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. I couldn't have come up with something like that without doing the research. So those are the kinds of things that when I'm researching and writing a novel and working on characters, I'm looking for things to make them real and come off the page. I'm not looking so much for the things that are going to stop me. So if I've gotten the time a little off, I fudge that in the novel because it's fiction. I'm not too worried about having everything accurate, but
right.
For me, it's that feel. Yeah.
I can't even get over that. I've never even heard of that. I've never even heard of that even happening. Who knew? My goodness. Yeah. Oh boy. I'm afraid to know what happened in Massachusetts or, whatever. I don't even want to know. I don't think I want to know. Maybe not. I don't know.
The 1800s were a fascinating time.
I can see that. My goodness. Oh my God. I can't even imagine waking up that way or whatever. Must have been horrible. Hopefully it didn't go on for too long though.
No. It's they eventually the city ended up burning down because it was all wooden. and there's a great little story about that, how that happened in Seattle as well. But it ended up being buried, and everything was built on top of it. So then you had the underground city, and you have these remnants in Seattle where you can sort of go through and see what some of the stores would have looked like, the sort of the underpinnings of them. But yeah, no, in by the 1900s they were cleaning themselves up and becoming respectable. But there was definitely sort of the last remnants of the Wild West out there.
Wow. Very interesting. So I know that you can get your books on Amazon. Is there any other place that you can find your books?
Yep. Absolutely. The library. I always recommend people go to the library. It's the other place, of course, the general, anybody, anywhere where they sell books, you can find them. Audible as well carries them, but visiting a local library is a good thing.
Okay. All right. I might have to check that out. Does anyone else have any more questions? I know you guys are just sitting there listening to every word she's saying. You guys came up with some great questions.
Hopefully I haven't bored you guys with the writing stuff.
No, absolutely not. Sometimes, authors can be long-winded, and they can just keep going and going because it's something that they're passionate about and that they like doing, obviously. And I never mind it, because when it comes to authors, I'm always finding something interesting, so it's never,
absolutely.
ever a bore. So, and I love reading myself. So yeah. And I've met some great friends throughout the years. I have a lot of author friends that I've kept in contact with that have been on my show multiple times. So it's fantastic. Kayla, definitely not. It was a great show. Valerie, no, you have been very interesting to listen to. So yeah, I get the good people. I'm blessed. I have been blessed for 6 years, so I don't think I've ever. No, I take that back. Maybe once or twice, but other than that, with guests, it's been fantastic. So yeah. Well, I hope to have you back on at some point. That would be nice.
I'd love to be back on. This has been a lot of fun.
I try to make it as easy as possible. It's like two old friends talking who haven't talked in, a little while. So it's good. I like doing it. I never liked the whole camera thing, but I've gotten used to it. So,
yeah,
and it's how everyone's doing everything.
I find my favorite. Pardon?
It's how everyone's doing things now. It's on video now, so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I find these kind of casual podcasts, I love listening to them as well, because you learn so much. There's there's so many things around writing, like the research stuff and the process and what's going on in the world, and just what what authors are reading. It's there's so many weird things around the profession that this was a lot of fun. So
yeah. I try to make it fun. Try to make it interesting. Which I'm also a podcast as well. You can find me anywheres, which is pretty cool. So, with my show, it's not scripted. I never believed in that. So whatever happens on the show, it's actually happening and not planned. So it's anything could happen. And so yeah. So is it still early there? What time is it there? I've never actually. Are you the first? You're the first guest I've had from Canada. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yes. I lost you there for a second. So
I'm like, what happened?
Just for a second, I lost you there.
Okay. I was just saying that you are the first guest from Canada. So I was wondering what time is it there? Is it still early?
Yeah, it's 5:30. So we're on the because I'm in BC, we're on the exact same timeline as Washington, Oregon, and California. So we're on
Okay.
PST. So yeah, so it's about 5:40.
That's right. Northeast.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah. So you're way over there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but it's
okay.
the same, Canada, basically, if you look up,
Yep.
the corresponding spots got the same. Yeah.
Okay. It must be nice that it's 8:40 here, so it must be nice to still be. It's still nice out over there, I'm pretty sure, right?
It'll get really interesting over the next few months because, of course, we're further north.
Yeah.
And so, during the summer, you can have it start getting dark, 3:45, 4 o'clock. The sun starts to go down. So it's dark, past 4. But we have the opposite in the summertime where it's, 10:30 at night and it's still light outside. So, as we get into the middle of summer. So, yeah. Looking forward to that summer.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to experience that once. I've seen it on TV. I've watched shows that are filmed in that part of Canada. So yeah, it's very interesting to see that it's.
You would be amazed how many shows are filmed in Vancouver. That's actually something I do as my other job is I do background in film and TV.
Okay.
And
See something interesting.
Yeah.
I
So
always learn something.
So I bring background in film. It's a very fun job, but it's a bonus if you have something to bring with you to do because most of your day is just sitting in holding.
Yeah.
And so I bring my laptop and work on my novels or my edits that I need to do. And it's a wonderful job. But any Hallmark Christmas special, chances are very good it is filmed in Vancouver.
Oh yeah.
Along with a bunch of other shows. So
yeah. I am a fan of the Hallmark Channel. I will admit. I think one of my shows is filmed up there. So I guess I can consider myself a Hardy. So, which is One Calls the Heart. I believe it's filmed.
Yeah, it's filmed up here. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've also watched pretty much every season of, what is it, Ice Road Truckers. So that's almost, I don't want to say, where was it? Yellowknife? You're not near Yellowknife, are you?
No.
Okay.
I'm further south than that. But yeah, that's up north. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's about it really. So, but yeah, those Hallmark Christmas movies, they get me every year. So have to watch them. So yeah. Have you actually been an extra in what, Hallmark or something else that's been filmed up there?
Yeah, they're often it's the way it works is that you get booked. You aren't booked for one particular show. You just get booked as they need background in a particular film. So summertime is usually when Hallmark is filming their Christmas specials. Mm-hmm. So we sort of cheat the puffy looking jackets, in the middle of summer. And as soon as we get back into holding, our jackets are off. But yeah, it's, there's enough of them and it's pretty regular that it's hard to remember which they start to meld together because of course you only see one scene. You might be there for one day and then, you may never be on that show again, or you might be on there again, a month or two later. So, but yeah, a lot of them are filmed up here. I've been on a number of them. I have seen myself. My mother did find me in a Hallmark Christmas special. So that happened to be on TV at the time. And I was like, wait a minute, there I am.
Wow. That's interesting. They have filmed down here because I'm close to Stockbridge, Mass. So Norman Rockwell.
Okay.
So yeah, I know because I've seen the street signs and the main street of Stockbridge in some of the movies as well. So, and I know that they use different parts of, like a town or whatever for what do they want to call it? Not like a scene, but the introduction to a show or whatever. It'll come into a town, but it's I know that town. So, I know that if they've done that, that's pretty cool though. I want to be an extra. I need to maybe move to Canada now or something. So yeah, that'd be pretty cool to be in a Hallmark movie. Yeah. Wow. See, I always learn something interesting. I would have never have known.
Yeah,
Anything else?
it's definitely a fun little job. So it's a
Awesome.
fun job to do.
Awesome. All right. Well, I mean, unless anyone else have any other questions for Kristi, let us know. Don't forget, it's video, so the video never goes anywhere. So if you watch this and you have questions for her, you can always comment, and I can always get those questions to her. So this has been fun.
This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. I was still a bit confused because I had like axed out Sundays. My first Sunday show technically wasn't supposed to start until May 2nd.
Oh.
Yeah. So I just happened to look and notice that, hey, you have a interview for May 25th. And I'm like, today is the 20th. No, what? That's impossible. It's not May. So I'm like, well, she snuck through. So I'll do it. Yeah. I'm glad I did. Yeah, because I only used to do once a week, and that was every Thursday night. And then it got to the point where when I put the request out for science fiction, and then the gentleman there that referred you to, I did have a conversation with him, and he was like, oh, I got lots of people for you. And I said, go for it. So I was like, if I do that, because that's happened to me before, where one day a week is not enough for everyone, I'll do 2 shows.
Got it.
So I'll do Thursday and whatnot. So yeah. So I'm glad I did. But yeah, you definitely have to come back on. So when you have something coming out, some sort of update, please feel free to reach out and come back on. So because I know I have more. Is it Creative Edge?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So I have a lot of creative edge people coming on. So I think I'm going to enjoy each and every one. So, but thank you for coming on. Thank you for talking about it. I now know what I'm going to be reading. So, and I will start with the first series and then work my way to the second. And I hope everyone else goes to the library and picks up these books. So, yeah, it's been fun.
It's been a huge amount of fun. Thanks so much for having me, Brian.
Absolutely.
And thanks everybody for the questions. I've got to open up the chat again here, but it's been great being able to see everybody comment. I'm a little new to watching the comments while I'm talking, but that was really awesome, and I'm glad you guys enjoyed glad you guys found some of the stuff interesting, and yeah, this has been a huge amount of fun, and can't wait to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this program. I like having the guests being able to see the comments. So you don't see that a lot. So
yeah.
But yeah. And it's live. It's like as it's happening, which is pretty cool. But
yeah, it really is.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to end this show. And again, thank you for coming on. I encourage everyone out there that's watching or rewatching the show, go out there, grab the book, grab all of them, read them. I'm going to read them. So I think everybody else should. There, I've said it. So everyone is saying goodbye. Thank you. Yeah. All right, everyone, that is it. Kristi, again, thank you for coming on. And I will, I'll talk to you at some point and have you back on.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Have a good night, everybody.